Today we are talking about dating conflict resolution. So we're going to tie in what we've talked about all week and relate it to dating relationships, which is something that is very relevant in all of your lives in high school. So to start, we're going to start by watching this video.
The Thomas Kilmann model of conflict management organizes 5 conflict management styles based on 2 dimensions: assertiveness and cooperativeness. People react differently to conflict, or better, conflicting interests. Every style has different degrees of assertiveness and cooperativeness. In other words, how much focus is on your own concerns and how much on satisfying the other person's needs. In any conflict situation, you may respond in one of several ways: by competing, accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, or compromising. The first style I would like to describe is competing. This is the win-lose approach. You act in an assertive way to achieve your goals, without seeking to cooperate, and it may be at the expense of others. This approach may be appropriate for emergencies, when time is of the essence or where you need quick, decisive action. Avoiding is when you simply avoid the issue. You're not helping others reach their goals and you're not pursuing your own. This works when the issue is trivial or when you have no chance of winning. It is also very effective when the atmosphere is emotionally charged and you need to create some space. The style collaborating can also be described as the win-win approach. This can be effective for complex scenarios where you need to find a novel solution. This can also mean reframing the challenge to create a bigger space and room for everybody's ideas. The downside is that it requires a high degree of trust, and reaching consensus can require a lot of time and effort to get everybody on board. Accommodating is when you cooperate to a high degree, and it may be at your own expense and actually work against your own goals. This approach is effective when the other party is the expert or has a better solution. It can also be effective for preserving future relations. And finally, compromising. This is the lose-lose scenario. Neither party really gets what they want. It requires a moderate level of assertiveness and cooperation. It may be appropriate for scenarios where you need a temporary solution, but the trap is to fall into compromising as an easy way out.
All right, so as we saw, and as we talked about earlier, competing, it's my way or the highway. Avoiding, I'll think about it tomorrow. Collaborating, 2 heads are better than 1. Let's think when we both win. Accommodating, it would be my pleasure. And compromising, well, it's just a temporary solution, as we learned, right? You have to give up something, so you're never really getting what you want. So kind of think about, put those quotes into your own life. Which one do you think you fall into? And is it true? So as we talked about, collaborating is the L. Our goals and our relationships are important to me. I will improve our relationship by getting rid of the tension between us. We will have a discussion that identifies the problem and find a solution that satisfies both of us. The turtle, the avoider. I do not like confrontation. I will avoid confrontation, not care about our relationship or my goals. It's easier for me to withdraw from a conflict than to face it. And then sometimes this causes me to lose relationships or my goals. The shark, the competing one. I want my goals reached more than I care about my relationships. I care about my goals more than being liked by other people, and I'll force people to see that my solution to the problem is the best way by overpowering them. The teddy bear, the accommodator. I value my relationships more than my own goals. I'll sacrifice what I want in order to keep other people happy, and I want to be liked by others and avoid conflict because I think it'll damage the relationship. Okay, the accommodator cares about relationships more than anything. Then there's your compromiser. I'm kind of concerned about my goals and my relationships. I'll give up part of my goals and persuade others to give up part of theirs. So we both gain something, but we also have to sacrifice something as well. All right, so those are things we've all learned about this week. Now, conflict in dating is normal, but conflict doesn't have to be destructive. So as we go through this lesson, reflect on how you manage conflict in your friendships and or intimate relationships. Some of you might not be at a place where you are in a dating relationship, and that's totally fine. Okay, so you can just think about this in terms of friendship or whatever kind of relationship you want. But those of you who are in dating relationships, relate this back to that. So as we saw in that video, Just another way to lay it out, we have our personal goal here on the y-axis and our relationship here on the x-axis. The avoider doesn't really care about either, right? The competitor cares about the personal goals and not really the relationships. The accommodator cares the most about relationships and not really about the personal goal. The compromiser is just kind of sitting in the middle, and the collaborator is up here in the top right and cares about both. Okay, I would draw this diagram. I think this is a super, super helpful way to remember where all of these kind of fall in terms of how relationships affect them and how personal goals affect them as well. So now we're going to talk about 8 different things that come up in a dating relationship. Okay, things that can be conflicts. So the first one is having incomplete information. So for example, in Friends, when Rachel's date for prom stood her up, Ross could see Rachel was in tears. He went and put a tuxedo on, and as he was coming down the stairs, Rachel's date arrived and they left. So Ross was left in hand standing with flowers. So he didn't have all the information of why the date wasn't there, and he acted on that before having the complete information. So I think this happens a lot in relationships, is we only get half of the story and act on it without truly getting the other half, which if we had the other half, there might not be a conflict at all. Inaccurate information is another one. So along with not having the information, you might have the wrong information. So in college, Mr. Grubner got his girlfriend a dozen roses from a rose stand on campus for Valentine's Day. The stand advertised $1 roses. When his girlfriend walked by the stand and figured out that's where he got the roses, she was suspicious and unforgiving. What she doesn't know or believe is that Mr. Grubner actually paid $30 for the roses. Okay, so inaccurate information. She thought he only spent $1 when in reality he paid $30. So if she would have asked, or she would have gotten all the information, conflict avoided. All right, number 3 here, stress overload. This is something that I'm sure a lot of you guys are going through right now with AP tests coming up, finals, distance learning in general. You have tests and speeches and projects. You have other things going on, your parents. You've all been in the same house for a long time, right? There's a lot of stress going on, and a lot of it's new stress. So this can weigh in on your dating relationships as well. Different viewpoints. This is something that you might find in a relationship. Might be a deal breaker, it might not. But the way you guys see things, it's really important to be able to communicate that. So in the movie Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd was trying to date Mary. And when he got the courage to ask her, he said, what are the chances a guy like you and a girl like me could end up together? And she said, 1 in a million. And he said, so you're telling me there's a chance, right? Most people would hear 1 in a million and probably keep walking. He saw 1 in a million as, oh my gosh, there's a chance and heck that this could happen. So just know that viewpoints could skew conflicts in a relationship. Limited resources. Everyone has different resources, especially during the coronavirus right now. So some people can't hold a job down. Some people don't have the money to take you out to dinner, but are trying to pay for clothes, pay for their extracurriculars. They might be working a lot, whatever that is. Limited resources could affect your relationship. Maybe they don't have a car to get places. Maybe they don't have the sanitation or the masks, so they can't go out and get what they need, right? So just know that everyone's at a different spot as far as resources go, and that could be a conflict as well. And then unmet psychological needs. So for a quote here, I'm so consumed with getting recruited for baseball that I'm just not myself if I have a bad game. I'm putting so much time and effort into this thing. It's just not fair to you and I, and I'm sorry for that. All right, so people might have issues in other aspects of their life that are coming back and affecting you and your relationship that have nothing to do with you, but it could affect you, right? So just know what their psychological needs are. Try to help them meet them, or if not, it's their issue, not yours. Okay, so things we typically screw up. We only see what we want to see. Even if we're wrong, we use the information to fit the story we want. We take a strong position on one side of the story. We blame the other person for the problem. We dwell on the past mistakes or conflicts. We express negative emotions like anger and fear. We ramble on about the same topic and don't move forward. We use confused or inaccurate information, and we jump to conclusions. Okay, things that we all typically screw up in relationships. Things we should do. Make sure we get accurate and correct, complete information. Focus on the issue and the conflict. Talk about both sides of the story. Talk about yourself and not just the other person. Look to the future and what you can fix. Focus on your interests and their interests. Talk with a purpose. Try to fix the problem. Ask for clarification when you're confused. Talk about your fears and your concerns. Okay, so a lot of things here. You might find them relatable, you might not, but just know that there's a whole list of things that we can do wrong and a whole list of things we can do right. Okay, we want to err on doing those things on the right side as much as possible. So for the worksheet today, there's 2 parts. Part 1, you're going to need to match the conflict situation with the common problem characteristic. Okay, there are only 8 conflict situations and there are 6 common problem characteristics. So there's going to be 2 conflict situations that don't get used. So just know that going in. For part 2, you're going to take a common problem characteristic and connect it to a conflict situation. Then you'll need to create a script that utilizes an unhealthy conflict management style, so either the competing, accommodating, or avoiding. And then you're going to create a second script that utilizes a healthy conflict style, collaborating or compromising. And make sure you plan the script out at the end and how it was dealt with. So the worksheet tells you more about that, but just know that there are 2 parts and they're kind of lengthy, so make sure you read all of the instructions and you should be good to go.